Welcome to Iraqi Dinar News, your trusted source for in-depth financial updates, currency evaluations, and global monetary insights. Today's coverage could mark one of the most significant developments in the history of currency revaluation. What was once a topic confined to niche forums and speculative conversations has now entered the realm of verified financial discourse. This is not just talk, these are real numbers backed by credible sources and gaining traction among institutional investors, financial analysts, and central banks. The revaluation of the Iraqi Dinar IQD and the Vietnamese Dong VND is now being treated as a serious economic pivot that could reshape how global markets approach emerging currencies. For decades, the Iraqi dinar was dismissed as a high-risk investment tied to geopolitical instability and corruption. Investors who held on were often viewed as overly optimistic or outright gamblers, but that narrative has taken a sharp turn. A wave of reform, transparency, and strict economic restructuring has rewritten Iraq's financial reputation. The Central Bank of Iraq, backed by strategic moves and guidance from international partners such as the IMF, has initiated structural changes that have reined in inflation and brought stability to the country's monetary system. As of now, respected financial voices like Frank26 have confirmed the IQD's new valuation at $0.15. This figure isn't speculative fiction, it's now part of the economic dialogue happening in corporate boardrooms and policy roundtables. Likewise, the Vietnamese Dong has leapt forward, now reportedly pegged at $0.04. This transformation speaks volumes not just for Vietnam's currency, but for the country's broader economic standing. In less than a decade, Vietnam has evolved from a primarily agricultural society into a powerhouse of technological exports and manufacturing. This upward trajectory has brought an influx of foreign investment, particularly from companies seeking alternatives to Chinese supply chains. The shift is not just visible on paper, it's being felt in real time by investors, institutions, and international watchdogs. The strength behind these currency valuations lies in more than just speculation. Iraq's journey involved targeted anti-corruption efforts, fiscal responsibility, and restructured oil revenue systems. All of these components formed the scaffolding for a strong and stable currency. The peg of $0.15 for the IQD represents years of hard policy decisions, not just a market anomaly. Meanwhile, the VND's newly recognized value reflects Vietnam's place as a modern economy ready to lead in Southeast Asia and beyond. It's a clear sign that both nations have moved past being considered peripheral players. They now sit confidently at the global financial table. Frank26, widely known for his detailed research into currency dynamics, has brought substantial weight to these revelations. His conclusions are rooted in deep analysis of reports from the IMF, central banks, and verified financial institutions. The valuations for both IQD and VND were not delivered with exaggerated hype. They came accompanied by supporting data and historical patterns. This is exactly why these revelations are now making their way into the strategic models of hedge funds, currency analysts, and even multinational development institutions like the World Bank. This shift is not simply a currency reset, it's a tectonic movement in global financial alignment. By mid-2025, the global currency map looks drastically different than it did 5 years ago. This realignment brings with it both new opportunities and responsibilities. Nations like Iraq and Vietnam, previously seen as economically volatile, are now reshaping the conversation. And it's not only because of stronger currency values, it's due to the credible reforms and systemic improvements that laid the foundation for this change. Vietnam's story is particularly remarkable. From once being dependent on agriculture, the country now boasts thriving tech sectors, logistics networks, and digital innovation. The $0.04 peg of the Dong sends a message of strength, stability, and readiness. Vietnam is asserting itself not only in manufacturing and exports, but also in financial reform and global diplomacy. Investors who once doubted the VND's potential are now reconsidering their positions. The movement towards central bank digital currencies, CBDCs, also plays a role here. Nations around the world, from the United States to the UAE, are developing frameworks to transition into digital financial ecosystems. Iraq and Vietnam are actively participating in this shift, but as experts have pointed out, no digital transformation can succeed without a stable fiat backbone. With both IQD and VND now resting on globally respected values, their move into the digital realm appears far more promising. These countries are building blockchain infrastructures, implementing regulatory tools, and designing digital wallets in preparation for the next phase of currency evolution. This isn't simply a modernization initiative, it's a full-scale economic upgrade. Faster transaction processing, reduced friction in international trade, and enhanced transparency are just the beginning. As this transition progresses, the public will benefit from greater access, security, and efficiency. These are not abstract concepts anymore, they're visible, operational, and imminent. Now, if you're a currency holder, especially of IQD or VND, the next steps you take are crucial. First and foremost, authentication of your currency is essential. Counterfeit bills remain a serious threat, especially for dinar notes, which have been widely replicated in black market transactions. Secure your holdings by verifying them through licensed dealers and regulated financial entities. Avoid shady platforms and too-good-to-be-true deals. This isn't the time for shortcuts. The next critical area is understanding how your local banks manage foreign currency exchange. Policies differ by country and institution, and not all banks may handle IQD or VND transactions. It's essential to ask detailed questions. What paperwork is needed? What are the currency limits? And what identification or financial disclosures are expected? The smoother your preparation, the easier your exchange process will be when the time comes. Tax planning is another major consideration. Whether you're exchanging a small or significant amount, gains on revalued currency are likely to trigger capital gains taxes in many jurisdictions. In addition, depending on your region, you may face obligations related to foreign asset disclosures or reporting thresholds. Waiting until after an exchange could cost you far more than planning ahead. That's why a conversation with a tax advisor who understands international currency transactions is not optional. It's a must. Make sure you're not caught off guard. But beyond taxes and logistics lies the question of long-term reinvestment. For those who've held on to IQD or VND through years of uncertainty, now isn't just a moment to cash out. It's a rare chance to build lasting wealth. Instead of simply converting and spending, consider channels where your gains can multiply. Diversifying into stable assets, index funds, real estate, or even digital assets with cautious guidance can help extend the value of your gains. Strategy, not speculation, is how long-term wealth is built. It's also worth noting that Iraq's central bank has reassured holders that physical IQD notes remain valid during the transition. There's no rush to exchange unless you're personally prepared. Iraq is still operating largely on a cash-based economy, and while digital systems are rising, this isn't a forced phase-out. Investors with a patient mindset, who focus on preparation over panic, are the ones who tend to succeed in times like these. It's not about racing to the front of the line, it's about timing your steps wisely. Zooming out, what we're witnessing isn't just about two countries. It's about how the global financial order is adjusting to a new class of rising economies. Institutions like the IMF, the World Bank, and national central banks are reconfiguring their models to include these updated valuations. Global investment houses are adjusting their foreign exchange portfolios. Algorithmic trading systems are being rewritten. All of this is a response to just two currencies being repositioned. The effect ripples through trade balances, geopolitical dynamics, and even future monetary policy. Consider this: when a currency gains strength, so does the nation behind it. Iraq, with a firmer grip on its oil economy and greater transparency in spending, can now engage in stronger trade negotiations throughout the Middle East. Vietnam, whose exports have surged in recent years, now holds greater influence across the ASEAN region and with global partners looking to de-risk from Chinese over-reliance. Currency isn't just money, it's leverage. And both countries have it now. The historical parallels are impossible to ignore. Think of post-WWI Germany with the rebirth of the Deutschmark, or post-war Japan's recovery and the rise of the yen, or Kuwait's currency rebound following liberation. In every instance, currency revaluation followed national reconstruction and global reintegration. Iraq and Vietnam are walking that same path in 2025, and the pattern remains consistent. Economic strength leads, credibility follows, and value is restored. Frank26's confirmation of these rates, $0.15 for the Iraqi dinar and $0.04 for the Vietnamese dong, represents not only a landmark for currency holders but a pivot in global economic thinking. Where skepticism once prevailed, financial certainty is beginning to take root. This shift signals the arrival of a new financial chapter where emerging economies demand to be seen, respected, and included. So now, the question turns to you. If you've been holding on to IQD or VND, either as a long-time believer or someone recently drawn to the conversation, what are you doing with this moment? Are your notes validated? Have you spoken to a financial planner? Are you ready for what happens next? Because this isn't just an update, it's an invitation to act, prepare, and evolve. The era of speculation is giving way to a period of opportunity, but only those who've laid the groundwork will benefit. You're not just holding currency, you're holding the result of national transformation, strategic policy, and international financial recon. At Iraqi Dinar News, we believe in empowering our community with reliable information and practical advice. This isn't about hype, it's about clarity. So, if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications to stay updated on new developments. Engage in the discussion, ask questions, and lean into the network of individuals who share your financial vision. Because this global shift, it's not coming, it's already here. And finally, a friendly but essential reminder, none of this content constitutes official financial or legal advice. Currency markets can be volatile, and rates are always subject to change. Please consult with a licensed financial advisor or legal expert before making any significant financial decisions or exchanging currency. Stay smart, stay prepared, and stay connected. The future isn't something to wait for, it's something to step into, and with verified valuations now in public discourse, it's your move.